Part 15. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 142. Hit. Dozens of blood bubbles, like soap bubbles, have already surrounded Vandalin, and these bubbles exploded around Vandalin. Even if Vandalin desperately flapped his bat wings, he could not stop the toxins from spreading around him. The chaotic airflow brought the toxins into Vandalin's body. On Vandalin's wrist, in order to control the bloodline, the wound has not healed yet. A little bit of toxin floated on the wound and instantly entered Vandalin's body. This move is a sneak attack, and it is hard to defend against. Rudolph's star power turned into Pisces star power, and the witch language entanglement was activated. The toxins in Vandalin's body became more and heavier. As long as there are enough toxins, Rudolph can release the second-level purple flower fire technique. Rudolph raised the corner of his mouth slightly, and he probably won. However, as the poison was continuously delivered, Rudolph felt something was wrong, and the toxins in Vandalin's body suddenly changed. In a hurry, Rudolph had to activate the purple flower fire technique in advance. Toxins are used as fuel to burn the poisoned people. Although the purple flower fire technique had been activated, Rudolph's frown deepened. Something like a nematode suddenly emerged from Vandalin's nose. It was the bloodline hidden in Vandalin's body. The bloodlines densely came out of Vandalin's nostrils, as if long hair grew out of his nostrils. Rudolph clearly felt that his toxins were concentrated in Vandalin's bloodlines. The purple flames ignited, illuminating Vandalin's face in bright purple. The bloodlines swarmed out, and Vandalin's bloodline technique, which he had practiced for hundreds of years, was burned out in an instant. Rudolph's face stiffened instantly. His purple flower fire technique only burned Vandalin's bloodlines. The bloodline absorbed the toxins at the first time, and when the toxins spread in Vandalin's body, they spread along the bloodlines. Failed. Rudolph endured the pain in his chest and continued to attack. Under the control of the castle bats, the bloodline was still wriggling back and forth in his chest, causing Rudolph to bleed a lot, which also gave him a lot of blood bats. A dozen blood bats took off again and flew towards Vandalin. Just when Rudolph was about to continue fighting with Vandalin, Vandalin suddenly flew into the air. Vandalin escaped. Blood bats are made of blood mist, so they can't fly fast, and can only watch Vandalin fly away. After burning all the bloodlines, the bloodline in Rudolph's chest finally lost its activity completely. Rudolph quickly pulled out the bloodline in his chest completely, and large amounts of blood spurted out of his chest and back. Regardless of the pain, Rudolph picked up his cane and prepared to use the erosion ray to attack Vandalin, who had already escaped a distance. The surrounding castle bats rushed towards Rudolph's arm at this time, and at the critical moment, they changed the direction of the erosion ray, and the ray failed to hit Vandalin, who was trying to escape. Vandalin flew close to the ground and disappeared between the rocks and hills. Rudolph had no flying ability and could only look at the direction where Vandalin fled. Rudolph's body was already in very bad condition after holding on for a long time. He hurriedly took out the wolf poison potion and swallowed a mouthful of the potion regardless of the bite of the castle bat. The pain in his chest eased and the wound healed quickly. The blood on the ground suddenly turned into dozens of blood mist and blood bats, which exploded around Rudolph. The poisonous fog spread, and all the castle bats were poisoned to death and fell to the ground. When Rudolph freed his hands, Vandalin had already fled far away. Rudolph's face was gloomy. This time there was going to be a big problem. This Blood Clan deacon actually escaped from his hands successfully. Rudolph's strongest attack methods, Scorpio Toxin and Purple Flower Fire Technique, did not kill Vandalin, and Rudolph's erosion ray could not accurately hit him because Vandalin flew far away. Don't underestimate any apostle. Maybe he will suddenly show unexpected abilities. It is not impossible for low-level apostles to hunt high-level apostles. The escaped Vandalin will bring endless troubles to Rudolph. He hurriedly looked at the white wolf. At this time, the white wolf had bitten 2 vampires to death in succession and chased the last vampire, getting farther and farther. After seeing Vanderlyn running away, the vampire deacon hurriedly learned Vanderlyn's method and shuttled between rocks and hills. The flying ability of the vampires is really enviable. No wonder werewolves hate vampires so much. This feeling of being unable to hit makes people very uncomfortable. The white wolf chased farther and farther, and Rudolph had to follow. Now that the vampires have escaped, Rudolph dared to subdue the white wolf. Several smoke bombs exploded around the white wolf, and soon the white wolf calmed down because it inhaled too much paralyzing poison smoke. After settling the white wolf, Rudolph walked towards the 2 level 2 vampires who were bitten to death in the end. The first vampire who died had been torn to pieces by the white wolf, even his bat wings were broken, and Rudolph could not see any relics on him. The second vampire who died was better, and the white wolf was anxious to chase the third vampire, and the second vampire only had his neck bitten off. Rudolph saw a faint light on the bat wings, which were the relics left by the level 2 vampire after his death, the level 2 bat wings. The ability to fly, I really want to have it. In addition to the bat wings, this level 2 vampire did not leave any other relics. Rudolph felt that if Vanderlyn had just been killed, Vanderlyn would definitely leave 2 relics. There are also differences in strength among level 2 apostles. Vanderlyn's bloodline is a very powerful ability, which makes Vanderlyn much stronger than other level 2 vampires. Rudolph took out the alchemical dagger and cut off the 2 bat wings. The bat wings disappeared, and in Rudolph's mind, a meteor streaked across the sky. This meteor flew to the star field of Scorpio, and 13 stars were already lit up in Scorpio. On Scorpio 14/14, Pi in Scorpio was hit by a meteor. 3 suspended stars fell from Pi in Scorpio. Rudolph's consciousness approached the 3 suspended stars and looked at them one by one. Level 2 Blood Replenishment Technique, Blood Clan Ancestor Sacrifice Method, Level 2 Bat Wings. Level 2 Blood Replenishment Technique is a spell for Blood Clan to recover from injuries by sucking blood. This was ruled out by Rudolph, who thought the wolf poison potion of the werewolf was very useful. This technique also clearly stated the side effects: sucking human blood would be addictive, and if you want to quit the addiction, you will have serious withdrawal reactions. Blood Clan Ancestor Sacrifice Method, a method used to sacrifice the Blood Clan ancestor, is the method used by the Red Church every month during the full moon sacrifice. Rudolph has no use for this. The third one, the level 2 bat wings, was what Rudolph wanted. Rudolph could not wait to draw the star triangle on the ground, and then put a pair of bat wings in the left circle, and his own leather belt in the right circle. The level 2 bat wings needed a new witch language, Sagittarius witch language flying. The Sagittarius star power fell instantly, entered Rudolph's body from the top of his head, and after being assimilated by Rudolph's star power, it pierced Rudolph's feet and entered the star triangle. The Sagittarius star power wandered in the star triangle and quickly entered a pair of bat wings. It hurt a little, but Rudolph liked the clean and neat character of the Sagittarius star power. The bat wings themselves have the ability to fly, and after being transformed by the Sagittarius witch language flying, they can be used by Rudolph. The starstone powder wrapped the bat wings and Rudolph's leather belt and flew to the top of the star triangle. The second witch language, Pisces witch language alien, joined in. The level 2 witch weapon bat wings must be made into leather products. The unfolded bat wings, like the webbed feet controlled by blood vessels, must have a certain degree of activity. The only leather product on Rudolph is his leather belt. Under the effect of Pisces witch language alien, the level 2 bat wings usually look like belts. When they need to be used, the star power will be transformed into the power of the blood clan in the witch weapon, and the blood vessels in the leather belt will be congested and turned into 2 wide bat wings. After being congested and enlarged, this witch weapon is a bit dirty. The bat wings are very large, each one is more than 2 meters long, much longer than 18 centimeters. After the witch weapon was made, only Rudolph's leather belt was left on the ground. Rudolph went over and picked up the belt, and saw that there were strands of red thin lines on the belt. If star power is infused into it, these thin lines will turn into blood vessels and stretch the bat wings. After tying the belt, Rudolph once again had a witch weapon. Rudolph, Level 2 Scorpio Wizard. Mastered Witch Language. Scorpio Witch Language, Water Phase, Venom, Infection, Malice. Pisces Witch Language, Water Phase, Entanglement, Alien. Cancer Witch Language, Water Phase, Containment, Swallowing. Leo Witch Language, Fire Phase, Flame, Dazzling, Expansion, Magnification. Sagittarius Witch Language, Fire Phase, Lasing, Flying. Witch Weapon. Level 3 Witch Weapon, Zombie Teeth, side effect of body stiffness, which has been partially neutralized by the physical strength sharing contract. Level 2 Witch Weapon, Night Vision Wolf Pupil. Level 2 Witch Weapon, Gentleman Cane, Level 2 White Magic Light Bead, Level 2 Pain Cane. Level 2 Witch Weapon, Bat Wings. Level 1 Witch Weapon, Pet Crystal, the main material is Level 3 Wizard Crystal. Level 1 Witch Weapon, Endless Revolver. Witchcraft. Level 2 Poisoning Technique. Level 2 Bone Eroding Poison. Level 2 Purple Flower Fire Technique. Level 1 Blood Bat Technique. Status. Level 2 Muscle Enhancement. Level 2 Danger Intuition. Level 1 Physical Strength Sharing Contract, shared with Level 2 Werewolf. Simply place the unconscious white wolf and cover her with a blanket. Rudolph touches his belt lightly, and the star power turns into the power of the vampires. The bloodlines swell and become blood vessels, stretching the belt and turning into stretched wings, flying into the sky, trying to chase Vanderlyn. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 143. The bat wings spread out and flapped gently, taking Rudolph into the sky. Rudolph finally felt the feeling of flying, and he chased in the direction of Vanderlyn's escape. Rudolph flew higher and higher all the way up, trying to use his night vision wolf eyes at a high altitude to find Vanderlyn as soon as possible. He knew that he couldn't touch the moon or the stars, but he saw the only cloud in the sky. He wanted to touch that cloud. The clouds at night were bright gray under the moonlight. This cloud floated alone in the night sky, as if waiting for Rudolph. The height of the cloud was only more than 300 meters, and Rudolph quickly flew to this height. When he got closer, he found that the size of this cloud was not small. Rudolph flew into the cloud under the sea of stars, feeling the moist breath around him. After staying for a while, after satisfying his novelty, Rudolph flew out of the cloud, and he still had business to do. In the past, I looked at the earth from the perspective of an owl or a sparrow, but now I see a different perspective with my own eyes. The white wolf is just a small dot, and the valley is just a small depression in the earth. He flew for a distance and finally found two owls again. One owl flew around the white wolf and watched the white wolf for Rudolph, while the other owl assisted Rudolph in searching for the enemy. The two pairs of eyes were much more efficient, and soon Rudolph saw two people from the owl's perspective. The bat wings flapped, and Rudolph quickly went to the direction where the owl was. There was almost no sound when the bat wings flew, which was a unique ability of bats. The bat wings did not fly entirely by flapping, and the power of the blood clan gave the bat wings themselves a certain degree of suspension and movement. It was so convenient to travel from the air that soon Rudolph landed on the ground. There were two people lying on the ground, two blood clans. One of them was Vanya, the deacon of the Red Church in Lehman Town, whom Rudolph had seen before. The other was a blood clan deacon who had just escaped. The blood clan deacon was dead, and died miserably. First, his blood was drained, and his whole body was like a shrunken leather bag. Rudolph remembered the blood replenishment technique he had seen before, the reward option that Rudolph gave up. Is this the result of being replenished by the blood replenishment technique? And what made Rudolph even more disgusted was that the deacon's body was naked, and there were dense and long wounds cut by a sharp knife. These wounds were crisscrossed on the body of the deacon, reminding Rudolph of the location of blood vessels in the human anatomy diagram. Rudolph used his cane to pick open the wound and found that the artery and vein inside had been taken away. Rudolph had just burned all of Vanderlyn's blood with the purple flower fire technique. Obviously, Vanderlyn couldn't wait to replenish a new one. Unexpectedly, the Blood Clan would be so cruel to their own people. Thinking about it carefully, Vanderlyn had nothing to hesitate about. Anyway, no one would doubt anything if he pushed the blame on the wizard and the mutant werewolf. To Rudolph's surprise, he did not find any relics on this vampire. It seemed that when the blood vessels were taken away, the vampire's blood power was also taken away. The bloodline seemed to have some similarities with witchcraft. Rudolph looked at the acolyte Vanya. Vanya was also the same, with all the blood sucked out. Rudolph touched his cheek to make sure that the teeth of the zombies had no reaction. Is he still alive? The pain stick touched Vanya, and the pain Vanya suffered was greatly reduced for a while. Vanya opened his eyes. Blood, I need blood. Rudolph looked at this vampire acolyte and sighed at his strong vitality. Vanderlyn had already fled far away. Under Rudolph's pursuit, he panicked and left a survivor. After thinking about it, Rudolph felt that this survivor was useful, so he said, "You survived a disaster, have a unique bone structure, and are a once-in-a-century Blood Clan genius. I think you will have good fortune in the future." Grabbing the light Vanya, Rudolph flew into the sky. For the Blood Clan, wolf poison potion is useless, blood is more useful. After flying for more than 20 minutes, Rudolph finally found a werewolf. There was no need for Rudolph to chase the werewolf, the mad werewolf rushed towards Rudolph himself. Rudolph's bat wings and the real Blood Clan in Rudolph's hand became the werewolf's first target. Waving the pain stick, Rudolph knocked the level 1 werewolf to the ground in just 1 or 2 rounds. Cutting the throat of the level 1 werewolf, Rudolph threw Vanya up. The blood entered Vanya's throat, and Vanya greedily swallowed the werewolf's blood. Vanya's shriveled and sunken cheeks became full at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, Vanya climbed up on his own initiative, lying on the werewolf's throat, sucking blood crazily. After sucking blood, Vanya still looked very weak, but he was finally able to speak normally. Rudolph said, "Vanya, do you still remember me?" "Yes, Patrol Captain Rudolph." "Tell me what you encountered." Vanya struggled, not knowing whether he should obey the wizard's orders. After a moment, he was relieved again. "Why bother with these? The Blood Clan has always promoted the supremacy of the family, but the seriously injured Vanderlyn, the elegant Vanderlyn, did not hesitate to attack the 2 Blood Clans. Vanderlyn was seriously injured by you, and he urgently needed the blood replenishing technique. But the place you chose was too remote, and there was no one within 10 kilometers around, so he attacked us." "What's that bloodline on Vanderlyn?" Vanya thought of another vampire whose veins were taken alive next to him, and couldn't help but tremble for a moment. "It is a vampire secret technique that allows the body to accommodate another set of blood vessels and uses the new blood vessels as a means of attack. It is a vampire secret technique that can only be granted to sarcophagus vampires." Rudolph nodded, as he had guessed. "Do you hate Vanderlyn?" Vanya looked at Rudolph in confusion. "Of course, he almost killed me. If he hadn't left in such a hurry, if you hadn't been such a threat to him, he would have done it more thoroughly and would not have left me by mistake. One life. Then we can be allies now." "Impossible," Vanya said resolutely, "we can't be allies, and I can't betray the Rievno family. Let's deal with Vanderlyn's allies together." "You are too naive. Just kill me. I know you can kill me easily. There is no way I will listen to you." Rudolph walked towards Vanya, raised his cane and pointed it at Vanya's eyebrows. Vanya's breathing became heavier and she knew she was going to die. The cane touched Vanya's forehead, but Vanya was surprised to find that he was not dead. He opened his eyes and found that Rudolph had turned around and walked away. If you ever find yourself in a desperate situation, pray to a Scorpio. I will hear your call and save your life when you are at the end of your rope. Trust me, you're going to need me. What Vanya didn't know was that when he closed his eyes just now, a beam of light composed of light points fell from the star field of Scorpio. Starfall Forbidden Technique, Scorpio Puppet. This is the forbidden technique that Rudolph got after Scorpio was completely lit up in the star chart. He is looking forward to the effect of this forbidden technique. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 144. When Yvonne woke up, she was very tired and felt pain everywhere in her body, as if she had exerted too much effort. She wrapped herself in a blanket and sat up dizzy. You're awake, Yvonne. Rudolph handed over a kettle and asked Yvonne to drink some water. Yvonne hugged the water bottle and felt much better after drinking some water. What's going on? Yvonne was about to say that she felt something was different this full moon night, when she immediately saw a vampire corpse. The vampire's fangs were still exposed. That's... Rudolph took Yvonne's clothes and said, that's the vampire of the Rievno family, who was just beaten to death by us. Us? Yes, he was beaten to death by us. Yvonne quickly realized a question, the vampires have chased us here, are we exposed? Yes, we were exposed. Rudolph held Yvonne's shoulders. Yvonne, I don't know why the vampires are chasing me here. We have been exposed. The vampires already know that I am a wizard and you are a werewolf. Not only was I exposed, but I was not able to kill everyone who was pursuing us and escape with a single person alive. Don't be afraid, Yvonne, you still have me, and I still have you, we are not alone. Yvonne's eyes were empty, and it took her more than 10 seconds to understand the meaning of these words. She could never return to her new home, the new home she had lived in for a short time, 15 Page Street. She can never go back to Lehman Town, her werewolf identity revealed. She can never go back to the police station. Kelida, Chief Claude, Sam, and everyone else in the police station are no longer her friends. She is saying goodbye to her old life. Yvonne reached out and hugged Rodolfo, and just like Rodolfo said, they only had each other. This was the second time Yvonne lost her home, and a tight breath filled her chest. Yvonne simply couldn't breathe. I want to go home so bad, Rudolph. Rudolph patted Yvonne on the back and said. When we knock down the castle of the Rievno family, if you want, we can go back to number 15 Page Street. Yvonne knew that Rudolph was comforting herself, and she began to sob softly in Rudolph's arms. It was like going back to the time when they met Rudolph for the first time. Together they defeated the werewolf that attacked Yvonne's farm. After the danger was far away, Yvonne also cried beside Rudolph. Everything seems to be back to square one. Yvonne, come on and get dressed. Let's find a place to spend the night. Yvonne was under the blanket, rustling in her clothes. That night, Rudolph and Yvonne found a flat stone and slept together all night. When he woke up the next day, Rudolph banged his head. Is the wind so strong in the wilderness at night? It makes me have a headache. Yvonne folded the blankets, feeling a little guilty. She has now guessed that it was during the night of the werewolf full moon that her identity as a werewolf was first exposed to the vampires, which was why they were both exposed together. I'm sorry, Rudolph, I hurt you. Don't say that, Yvonne. There's a big difference between a wizard who's running around and being shouted at, and a wizard who has a friend. Going forward, that's okay. The two walked towards the main road and waited for the travelers on the roadside. Soon, A heavily armed caravan came to Rudolph. When encountering strange people in the wilderness, you must be very careful. This is the rule of survival in the wilderness. A man came out and shouted, "Who are you two?" Judging from the man's attire, Rudolph found that he was a down-and-out knight's retinue, with several cracks in his armor and a broadsword full of gaps. Rudolph raised his hands to show that he meant no harm. "A brave and faithful knight, I am from a nearby farm. I would like to ask you to help me deliver a letter to the police station in Lehmantown. Of course, you must accept a small reward." Rudolph handed a letter to the knight's retinue. There was a 1 silver shield note on the outside of the envelope. 1 silver shield runs an errand, a very generous reward. Send it to the police station. This knight's retinue, named Archer, received the letter and a silver shield. Just give it to the police station. Someone from the police station will give the letter to Chief Claude. Archer happily accepted the letter. "Don't worry, friend. My name is Archer. I heard that Sir Lehmantown was recruiting knights, so I came to try my luck. I am protecting the caravan now to earn some traveling expenses. Knight keeps his promise, don't worry, I will definitely deliver the letter for you." Archer felt that since it was a letter sent to the police station, there was no danger. Rudolph and Ivan watched the team go away, feeling lost. This gift is a formal farewell to the life of the past year. After Archer entered Lehmantown, he didn't bother to go to the Jazz Castle. He first asked for directions and found the police station. Although he is a down-and-out knight's squire, keeping promises is a knight's virtue, and his downfall does not affect his desire to be a noble person. Knights are also apostles who need resources very much. If knight followers want to be promoted, they must have their own cavalry. Dozens of cavalry require 2 years of training, horses, armor, and an exaggerated amount of money. Therefore, once a knight family is in decline, it is difficult to turn around. A down-and-out knight servant like Archer, who has lost his land, can only rely on a real knight to slowly accumulate wealth. This silver shield is a good sign for Archer. Not long after waiting in the lobby of the police station, a female police officer knew what he wanted to do and took the letter. After delivering the letter, Archer left the police station. Kelida looked at the letter in confusion. The recipient was Sheriff Claude, but there were 2 hard objects in the letter that propped up the envelope. Sheriff Claude was also confused after seeing the envelope. After opening the envelope and pouring it out, he found that in addition to the letter, there were 2 police badges. For a moment, Sheriff Claude had a bad premonition. He picked up the badge, looked at the number on the back, and said to Kelida, "Kelida, check whose number this is." After taking the badge, Kelida looked at the number. She was a little bit unbelievable. "No need to check, Sheriff, I often count the personnel information of the police station. The city police station always asks us to report basic information over and over again, and they don't say they will look through the previous materials themselves." Claude was a little nervous. He couldn't remember the police numbers of the police officers. They were too long. He could only remember his own number. He stared at Kelida, his heart beating a little fast. "These are Rudolph and Ivan's numbers. There's no mistake. I know their numbers." Sheriff Claude suddenly closed his eyes and couldn't help cursing. He coded it. Kelida quickly opened the letter. Sheriff Claude knew what happened without looking at it. "Thank you, Sheriff, for taking care of me and Ivan over the past year. I am glad to have a mentor like you who helped us through this year. This year has been so wonderful. The dormitory of the police station is very comfortable to live in, but the bathroom is in poor condition. I suggest renovating it. The food in the police station restaurant, well, I can't say it's delicious against my conscience, it's okay. The sunshine in the police station is very warm, and I like the sunshine there. Although it's a bit busy, Ivan and I like the police station very much. Goodbye, Sheriff Claude." Goodbye, Kelida, Sam, Baby, and other colleagues. The evil wizard Rudolph and the mutant white wolf Ivan hereby promise that they will never attack the police station and the people of Lehman Town. Whether you believe it or not, I will always love your Rudolph and Ivan before, now, and in the future. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 145. Outside the town of Lehman, Rudolph and Ivan were walking slowly to find a safe place to stay. Rudolph, that vampire will definitely let the whole town know about us, so why don't we run? Faced with Ivan's question, Rudolph just said, we should be generous, and holding grudges is not a good habit. So, we must avenge our grudges, and avenge them as soon as possible. Only after avenging can we leave generously. In the police station, after thinking over and over again, Sheriff Claude said to the bewildered Kelida, Kelida, go call Baby over. Baby rubbed his sleepy eyes and came to the sheriff's office. Baby, I'm informing you now that the policy has changed and your retirement will be delayed. Baby just woke up from a nap. He slept for a long time, more than 3 hours, and felt dizzy and tired, so he didn't react yet. What? Delay what? Delay retirement, you have to work next. But why? Don't we have Rudolph? Isn't Rudolph very capable? Hearing Rudolph's name again, Kelida didn't dare to speak. Sheriff Claude narrowed his eyes slightly, not knowing what he was thinking. This is the problem, Rudolph has been exposed. What does exposed mean? Rudolph's apostle identity has been exposed, and Ivan's apostle identity has been exposed. Rudolph has sent back the police badge. Baby was a little unbelievable. What kind of apostle is Rudolph? Isn't he the alchemist you trained? Kelida used to think so, and everyone in the police station thought so. No, the sheriff said, the Alchemy Council has rules. Rudolph has not passed the probation period, and someone has taken a fancy to Rudolph. I know Rudolph is some kind of apostle, but I didn't expect that Rudolph is actually a wizard. Logically speaking, I should be scared when I hear the word wizard. But Rudolph's words, I actually feel like nothing happened. Baby asked on the side, Sheriff, what kind of apostle is Ivan? Ivan is a werewolf. Werewolf? That quiet little girl is a werewolf? Is she a violent werewolf who only knows how to bite? Not at all. Ivan is lucky. She is a werewolf who is well protected by Rudolph. Werewolves are divided into beastly werewolves and human werewolves. Ivan's humanity is very well maintained. Sheriff Claude said, Baby, I'm going to Fabreau City. You have to watch over the police station during this time. Baby didn't know what he was cursing. He was very dissatisfied with his delayed retirement and left the office cursing. The sheriff did not stop for a moment and left the police station before night fell. After the sun set, people from the Red Church rushed into the police station. Mr. Pulley, with several people from the church, wanted to find the sheriff. Kelida stopped them, the sheriff is not here. The sheriff went to the city. What a joke, Mr. Pulley shouted in the hall. The Lehman Town police station harbors wizards and werewolves, and now it can get away with it by saying the sheriff went to the city. Kelida trembled again when she heard the word wizard. Is Rudolph really a wizard? Do the people in the Red Church know it now? Patrol Captain Rudolph. He brutally killed several of our deacons and deacons. The police station must pay the price for this. Old Baby's walk after dinner was interrupted. Hearing the noise in the hall, he had to walk forward from the backyard of the police station. If you have anything to say, wait until the sheriff comes back. If you have the ability, go hunt witches yourself. If not, just wait for the sheriff obediently. After all, Baby is an apostle, and speaks more forcefully than Kelida. The people in the Red Church saw that they couldn't find the sheriff, so they had to leave. The police station was in a panic. The news that Rudolph was a wizard and Ivan was a werewolf had been spread by the police station. Kelida sat in the office in panic like a frightened deer. Sam walked in and accompanied Kelida. "Sam, do you think Rudolph is really a wizard and Ivan is really a werewolf?" "Well, it should be. Otherwise, why would the sheriff go to the city police station as soon as possible?" But they are both such good people." "Wait for the sheriff, wait until the sheriff comes back." Mr. Pulley returned to the Red Church, his heart full of anger. He knew that there was a werewolf hiding in Lehman Town, and it was a mutant werewolf. Now it has been verified that the mutant werewolf is hiding in the police station. Who could have thought of this? Not only that, there is also a wizard hiding in the police station. Is that still a police station? It is simply the base camp of the heretic apostles. Pulley personally sent Vanderlyn to heal his wounds. Only Vanderlyn came back alive. The other blood clans were killed by the wizard in a bloody way. After sending Vanderlyn away, Pulley returned to the Red Church and prayed to the statue of the ancestor of the blood clan for the blessing of the ancestors. In the second half of the night, a person suddenly opened the door of the Red Church. Pulley turned his head and looked at the door. It is very rare to come to the Red Church at this time. Raising his eyebrows slightly, Pulley found that the person who came was Vanya, his deacon. Vanya walked towards Mr. Pulley with an excited look on his face. "Mr. Pulley, you have to save me. You have to seek justice for me." "Vanya, Vanderlyn said that you were also killed by the wizard. I didn't expect you to escape back." Vanya got close to Mr. Pulley, but Mr. Pulley took a half step back. He was not used to someone approaching him. Vanya didn't care about these and whispered, "Mr. Pulley, I was not killed by the wizard. I was almost drained of blood by Vanderlyn. Vanderlyn was seriously injured when fighting the wizard. In order to recover from his injuries, he directly sucked the blood of me and another deacon. He also picked out the blood vessels of another deacon. Mr. Pulley, you have to make the decision for me, report to the family, and punish Vanderlyn." Pulley noticed one thing: Vanderlyn picked out the blood vessels of another deacon. Could it be that Vanderlyn has learned the bloodline technique of the vampires? Vanderlyn is really a genius to learn the bloodline technique at the level 2 vampire stage. Pulley said. "There is no evidence for all you said." Vanderlyn said that he was the only one who survived the wizard. Pulley hesitated. He felt that what Vanya said was true, but his reason made him more willing to believe Vanderlyn. There was no other reason, just because Vanderlyn was the only one in the Ravno family who had the possibility of being promoted to the level 3 vampire in decades. Now is the critical period for Vanderlyn's promotion. He came out of the castle to deal with the werewolf, just to accumulate some merits so that the family can give him another chance to sleep in the ancient sarcophagus. A cold wind blew behind him, making the weak Vanya shudder for a moment. Vanya suddenly remembered that he seemed to have forgotten to close the door when he entered the Red Church just now. Vanya turned around and saw Vanderlyn's pale face appearing at the door of the church. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 146. Pulley had already seen Vanderlyn at the door. Not reminding, this has already expressed Pulley's attitude. Vanderlyn appeared silently behind Vanya. Among the vampires, those who often sleep in ancient coffins are vampires with great prospects and strong strength. Pulley himself has only slept in ancient wooden coffins, so his vampire abilities are very ordinary. As a level 2 vampire, he only has the ability of bat wings. Vampires like Pulley can only be called wooden coffin vampires. The ancient wooden coffins of the Ravno family have begun to rot and cannot provide much ability to the vampires. Vanderlyn is different. Vanderlyn is a vampire who has slept in an ancient stone coffin. Vanderlyn's first embrace came from a terrible bronze coffin vampire. If Pulley wants to obtain resources in the Ravno family, he needs to obtain the recognition of the family's top leaders, that is, those bronze coffin vampires. A vampire like him who has been unable to sleep and has been running the Red Church seems to be very busy and has important responsibilities, but it means that he cannot get any key resources. When Vanderlyn came closer, Pulley turned around and continued to look at the statue of the ancestor of the vampire clan. Vanya, all the actions of the family in Lehman Town are now in the charge of Vanderlyn. If you have any questions, please ask Vanderlyn to handle it. Vanya shook his head desperately and tried to grab Pulley's arm. No. No. Pulley shook his arm lightly and hit Vanya's hand to the side. Mr. Pulley, I have been your deacon for more than 20 years. I have not made any mistakes in more than 20 years. Please, please save me. Vanya is destined to get no answer. He turned his head with fear and took another look at Vanderlyn's terrible face. The unique cold breath of the vampires came out of Vanderlyn, making Vanya tremble all over. Vanderlyn said softly, Mr. Pulley, I am sure that the wizard killed all the vampires who participated in the operation except me. Now Vanya suddenly came back. I suspect that he was deliberately released by the wizard. Pulley nodded in sudden realization. Oh, this makes sense. It is very likely that the wizard deliberately released him and then caused chaos within us. Please rest assured, Mr. Pulley, I will not let the wizard succeed. Vanderlyn's sleeve suddenly pierced with a bloodline, which directly pierced Vanya's throat. This will not kill Vanya, but it can stop Vanya from speaking. After the bloodline pierced Vanya's throat, it made a circle on Vanya's throat, strangled it tightly, and then lifted Vanya in the air. Pulley took a last look at Vanya in the air, not at Vanya, but at the bloodline. The sarcophagus vampires, how enviable, can awaken such a secret technique when they are only level 2 vampires. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame Vanya's first embrace father, who is just an ordinary level 1 vampire and a wooden coffin vampire. Pulley will not offend a bronze coffin vampire and Vanderlyn for him. Vanderlyn said with satisfaction, I will remember your support, Mr. Pulley. Under the pull of the bloodline, Vanya was suspended in the air and left here behind Vanderlyn. No blood flowed from the broken throat, all of which was sucked away by the bloodline. Vanderlyn needed to suck blood and didn't want to waste it at all. Pulley looked at Vanderlyn, who couldn't wait to suck blood, and didn't say much. Vanderlyn didn't go far. He entered the basement of the Red Church. The basement is where the vampires used to imprison prisoners, so the sound insulation here is very good. The bloodline was pulled out of Vanya's throat little by little, and Vanderlyn deliberately prolonged the process, enjoying Vanya's painful expression. After more than 10 minutes, there was no foreign body in Vanya's throat, only the wound. The wound was slowly healing. The vampires only needed to consume blood to heal the wound. Vanya didn't know if he had a chance to suck blood to replenish his blood. Tell me, why did the wizard save you? Vanya felt sad. The wizard didn't save me. How ironic, the one who almost killed him was a senior vampire in his own family. It was the wizard who saved him. But, are wizards kind? Pulley and Vanderlyn's guesses are very close to the facts. Rudolph cured Vanya and let Vanya go, of course, not out of pure kindness. There are many good people, but Rudolph is not. Without the wizard saving you, Vanderlyn's face was full of contempt. Without the wizard saving you, how could you survive? Vanya looked up. You also know that you sucked all my blood. I will definitely die soon. Of course, I just didn't expect you to hold on for so long, until the wizard found you. Tell me, what does the wizard want you to do? Vanya stopped talking. He knew that no matter what he said, it would be useless. The Vanderlyn in front of him had the power of life and death over low-level vampires like Vanya. Once you become a vampire, you can live forever. If nothing unexpected happens, he can live for at least 100 years. Once you become a vampire, it also means facing the strict and terrifying family order of the vampires. There are also many high-level vampires who live forever before you. For a long time, those high-level vampires were the ones who set the order, and Vanya had no ability to resist at all. Just as Vanya was thinking about all possible means, a bloodline pierced his throat again. The difference is that this bloodline drilled directly into Vanya's chest and coiled around his internal organs. The bloodline also broke from Vanderlin's wrist, and a castle bat flew out of Vanderlin's sleeve and bit the other end of the bloodline. This bloodline will control Vanya's life and death forever. I'm not in the mood to interrogate you. Before the next action, you'd better take the initiative to tell me what the wizard wants to do. Otherwise, your end can only be death in hunger and pain. After saying that, Vanderlin left the basement. He still needs to sort out the bloodlines in his body. The new bloodlines conflict with his blood vessels in some places. After Vanderlin left, Vanya closed his eyes in pain. He even needed to breathe carefully. A slightly longer breath would make him feel severe pain. The castle bat bit the other end of the bloodline and flew around in the basement. Every time the castle bat pulled the bloodline, it would pull the bloodline, leaving Vanya with severe pain. Vanya couldn't move, sitting in the corner, looking at the only high side window in the basement. This high side window is to let sunlight into the basement, so that it is convenient to use sunlight to poison the vampires who made mistakes. Outside the high window, you can see a little bit of starry sky. In this little bit of starry sky, the stars are twinkling. Everything of Vanya is ruined, only this little bit of starlight, exactly the same as before. Vanya thought of the wizard. What did the wizard want to do? What did he mean by praying to Scorpio if he encountered a desperate situation? The cold has lasted for a week, and it hasn't gotten better. I'm old, and my self-healing ability is too poor. There is no extra update for this weekend, I will make it up later. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 147. Archer felt that Lehmantown was his blessed place. On the way here, someone asked him to deliver a message and gave him a silver shield for free. He went to the Jazz Castle, successfully passed Sir Jennifer's assessment, and became the knight's retinue of the Jazz. Early in the morning, Sir asked the butler to inform him that Sir wanted to see him. When Archer entered Jazz's study, he saw that Jazz had finished his morning training and was drinking tea on the sofa wearing training clothes. It's a pity that the training clothes are very loose and cannot complement Jazz's perfect figure. Jazz spoke, and Archer hurriedly listened carefully. Archer, you said you saw a man and a woman on the way to Lehmantown and asked you to deliver a message. Yeah, let me take it to the police station. Briefly describe the appearance of the man and woman. Archer recalled it for a moment and then said. The gentleman was wearing a suit and had a cane in his hand. He had black hair and strong features. The lady has white hair and beautiful skin. The woman was in very good physical condition, both in terms of proportions and figure. Jennifer already had the outcome in mind, it was the two of them. The housekeeper took out 2 photos, which were ID photos of police patrol officers. Mr. Archer, look, are they these 2 people? Archer looked at the photo. Although the black and white photo had very low pixels, he still said with great certainty, it's these 2 people. The housekeeper put away the photo, turned to Jennifer and said. Jazz, this is scary. The news is true, Rudolph is a level 2 wizard and Yvonne is a level 2 werewolf. The 2 of them have been lurking in the police station, right under the nose of Chief Claude. The people in the Red Church had already confirmed the news, making it known to everyone in the town. The Red Church is putting pressure on the police department and the tribunal to organize a witch hunt. Archer looked at the butler in disbelief. That gentleman, is that man a wizard? Or a level 2 wizard? Archer suddenly felt that the silver shield in his pocket was burning hot. His first reaction was that the wizard had used some witchcraft on that note, right? Otherwise, why would you give him 1 silver shield so generously? Moreover, he shook hands with the wizard the day before yesterday. God, he shook hands with a level 2 wizard and he didn't even want his own hand. Jennifer just said, "Okay, Archer, please leave first, I still have some things to deal with." Archer walked out of the door and quickly took out a 1 silver shield note. "It's over. Have you been targeted by a wizard?" He knew that money was not so easy to earn. How is it possible to give 1 silver shield just for sending a letter? The tip for delivering letters is usually only a few copper shields. Archer walked to the fireplace in Sir's castle and hesitated whether to throw the silver shield into the fire or burn it. After hesitating again and again, Archer finally gave up on this stupid act. "Is it true that you don't even dare to accept a silver shield when seeking wealth and wealth in danger?" But he planned to spend it quickly and exchange the silver shield for a real thing, which would be safe. In Sir's study, Jennifer was staring at her coffee in trance. "Sir, you must pay attention to everything related to Rudolph. Be careful to avoid being plotted by the insidious and evil wizard. You know, even a level 3 alchemist like Sheriff Claude has been deceived by Rudolph for so long." Jennifer was non-committal and just stared at the moisture on the coffee. "Butler, my good grandpa, is there another tax burden to be paid at Baron Hackham's castle?" The housekeeper didn't know why Jennifer mentioned the Baron. "Yes, in the town of Gas where the Baron Castle is located, the iron ore mines of the Thor Mining Company are almost exhausted, which makes the entire town's economy worse and worse. The financial situation of the Baron Castle is also very bad. The Baron Castle makes all the vassals increase the pay-in ratio." Jennifer nodded to indicate she understood. What she found even more unacceptable was actually another letter from Baron Harkham. The letter requested that all the knights will follow him soon, fight for him, and help him get promoted. From the dead Henry's mouth, Jennifer already knew that it was Baron Harkham who killed her grandfather. The credibility of this news is very high. Now, Baron Harkham still wants to be promoted to a level 3 knight and wants Jennifer to fight for him as a vassal, but Jennifer is unwilling. Baron Harkham has wanted to occupy the Lord's castle in Lehman Town for a long time. She heard her father and mother quarreling over this matter when she was a child. Now, it's her turn to deal with the pressure. Jennifer thought about Rudolph and thought she had a better plan. That night, Jennifer left the Jazz Castle secretly alone. The housekeeper stood by the window, and when he saw Jazz leave, he was filled with worry. In the morning, he guessed what she wanted to do from Jazz's expression. "We can only hope that the wizard will keep his love in mind and treat Jazz better." Jennifer walked further and further, rushing aimlessly towards remote places in the wilderness. She couldn't find Rudolph, and she didn't know how to find Rudolph, but she felt that Rudolph could find her. Before Jennifer could meet Rudolph, she saw a Strigoi flying towards her. Jennifer became nervous. She knew that the Rievno family had been at peace with Fabreau City for many years, but now it was obvious that the Rievno family had become more active. She wondered if the attitude of the vampire family had changed. The broad bat wings flapped, and what fell down was not the vampire, but Rudolph. Jennifer still underestimated Rudolph. She didn't expect Rudolph to turn a level 2 vampire into a magic weapon. It was so efficient. No wonder the vampires went crazy and spread the word that Rudolph was a wizard. As soon as Rudolph landed, he heard Jennifer loudly questioning him. "Unfaithful man. Why did you only take Yvonne? Why didn't you take me?" Rudolph couldn't help scratching his head. How should he answer this? "Unfaithful man. Why didn't you bring Yvonne? I want to confront Yvonne face to face." Rudolph was sure that Jennifer was joking. Jennifer was not such a person. "Yvonne is already asleep, so she can't come over to confront you." Jennifer couldn't help asking, "Where do you sleep in this wilderness?" The question touched Rudolph's sore spot. He was used to living in the town, and everything was inconvenient in the wilderness. It was inconvenient to eat, wear, wash, and live. Jennifer saw Rudolph's embarrassment and said, "Rudolph, my promise to you is still valid." If you want, you can be my cavalry captain. Rudolph looked at Jennifer and asked seriously, Jennifer, aren't you afraid of me? I'm a wizard. Jennifer shook her head. Compared with my cousin Henry, my uncle Harley, and my grandfather Hockham, I think you are as kind as a white rabbit. Rudolph, I can give you and Yvonne a new identity that is easy to hide. You and Yvonne can temporarily become my territory. Patrol cavalry, you can always wear face-covering helmets. I know that if you don't leave, you must want to do something. I can provide you with a way to hide your identity. Thank you, I can consider it. Of course, you don't have to worry about me reporting you, because I want you to help. Rudolph asked, what help? My grandfather will let me follow him and help him get promoted. There are risks in night promotion, and I may die. You help me and let me live. Rudolph's eyes flickered, and he began to think about the feasibility of this matter. Now that his identity has been exposed, he feels extremely insecure. The only thing that can make him feel at ease is to become a level 3 wizard as soon as possible. To become a level 3 wizard, you need to use a level 3 relic to create a wizard weapon in the appropriate wizard month. He doesn't know many level 3 apostles, and he can't do Sheriff Claude. Just with this idea, Rudolph feels that he is committing a crime. Baron Hockham's promotion needs to be completed in a battle with a level 3 apostle. Rudolph thought about it and he was familiar with this script. Either the Baron fails to be promoted, and Rudolph goes to pick up the leak. Or the Baron succeeds in being promoted, and the Baron dies in an accident. Rounding it off, Rudolph is sure to win. Rudolph asked again, does your grandfather want to live? It depends on you, it's not within my scope of request. Rudolph nodded, deal. Rudolph thinks it's worth a try to help Jennifer survive. When will you go? Wait for Baron Hockham's notice. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 148. The story of the wizard caused panic in the town of Lehman. People in the town were talking, have you heard? Captain Rudolph is actually a wizard. The incident became the biggest news in town. The tanner Mayo, who once gave Rodolfo a wallet, after listening to a lot of discussions about Rodolfo in the tavern, couldn't help but ask the people around him. Speaking of which, wizards are scary because wizards like to hunt knights, alchemists or other apostles. So what is the relationship between wizards and us ordinary people? You're right, wizards must die because wizards always hunt nobles, and wizards don't kill ordinary people. Another person said, have you heard? Yvonne, that beautiful white-haired policewoman, is a werewolf. Patrol Yvonne is so gentle, how can she be a werewolf? I believe that Rudolph is a wizard. Rudolph is so cunning that no one can take advantage of him. But I don't believe it at all that Yvonne is a werewolf. If all werewolves look like Yvonne, then I think it's our fault for hunting werewolves. That makes sense. Rudolph and Yvonne are both pretty good to us. What's the police department's attitude? I don't know. I heard that Chief Claude went to Fabreau City immediately. Then the sheriff will suffer. At this time, Claude was in the office of the Dean of the Alchemy Academy in Fabreau City. Professor Abel, the Dean of the Fabreau City Alchemy Academy, the Deputy Speaker of the City Alchemy Council, and a Level 4 alchemist, was looking at his proud student from more than 10 years ago. Claude, who is in his 20s, is Professor Abel's favorite student. It's a pity that more than 10 years were wasted and his talent was wasted. When he came to see him a few months ago, Professor Abel was surprised that Claude actually wanted to be promoted and wanted to become a level 3 alchemist. Now, Claude has found his teacher again. Teacher, my plan to train wizards was messed up by the vampires. Claude was very honest and made things clear from the beginning. Professor Abel's silver hair was meticulously combed back, and he wore a pair of rimless glasses. He looked at Claude, training wizards. You have trained a wizard apprentice? Or a level 1 wizard? Level 2 Wizard. Professor Abel was stunned. No wonder Claude would give up all his wealth in exchange for the opportunity to become a level 3 alchemist. It turned out that what he was doing was too dangerous and he had to reach level 3 to be safe. There's nothing I can do about a level 2 wizard. This is no small matter. No one will let a level 2 wizard grow up just because of my words. Sheriff Claude insisted. Teacher, that wizard has been by my side since he became an apostle. I know him well. If I guide him properly, he can become a less evil wizard. He is from Lehman Town, and he has no ill intentions towards Lehman Town or us. On the contrary, I see in him his recognition of order. To put it another way, teacher, I think our relief society needs a wizard. And my subordinate Rudolph is the best choice. I can vouch for him and let him help us do things. He will be the sharpest knife to stab our enemies. Professor Abel's eyes flickered. If it was a patrolman who turned into a wizard, then he, the deputy speaker, did not want to get involved. If the relief would be to add a sharp knife, then he could consider it. Teacher, what the Relief Society wants to do cannot be done by gentleness. We need a little spice and a little violence. What Claude has to do now is to stop the witch-hunting operation of the Inquisition office. The only one who can do this is Professor Abel, Deputy Speaker Abel. The level 3 wizard at that time, Bloody Salem, was far superior to the current Rudolph in both power and personal strength, and he also died at the hands of the tribunal. If Rudolph is targeted by the tribunal, then Rudolph is not far from death. After Professor Abel thought for a moment, he slowly spoke. Fabreau City has been in a state of flux recently and we really need some off-the-table moves. I can help, but I need the wizard to do two things. First, the requirements of the Relief Society cannot be violated. We are not a violent organization, our purpose is to protect the city of Fabreau in the coming turmoil. Second, the wizard needs to prove his ability. I will find a way to let the tribunal pretend not to know about that wizard. What is the name of your wizard subordinate? Rudolph, his name is Rudolph. Claude breathed a sigh of relief. I will go back first and let him prove his ability. Teacher, just wait for the good news. Sheriff Crowder returned to Lemontown and posted a notice. Sheriff Claude was frowning in his office when he saw two vampires enter the office aggressively. Pulley and Vanderlyn, the friendship between the two has rapidly heated up since the Vanya incident. Pulley asked seriously, Chief, what does the notice you posted mean? Sheriff Claude was very irritable, but he still suppressed his anger. As you can see, the wizard and werewolf fled away in fear of crime and no longer pose any threat to Lemontown. Pulley was a little in disbelief. Chief, this is a wizard incident, how can you come to such a hasty conclusion? Hasty, Sheriff Claude suppressed his anger. You vampires, even if you discovered that Rudolph was a wizard and Yvonne was a werewolf, why did you announce it directly? Why did you make it known to everyone? Do you know how much trouble your behavior has caused me? What trouble is bigger than the appearance of a wizard? Chief Claude, we heard that you were punished for this matter, right? You are quite well informed. Sheriff Claude's breathing became heavier. I was punished because I made a mistake at work and made this matter a big deal. Wizard, what happened to the wizard? Don't think I don't know, your Rievno family also has wizards, otherwise where would your wizardry weapons come from? Could it be that they were also picked up in the wilderness? After this incident happened, you should notify the police station and me as soon as possible, instead of making this incident known to everyone. Vanderlyn couldn't help but said, Chief Claude, shouldn't the police department and the trial department organize a witch hunt as soon as possible? Witch hunting? Should I hunt down the witches raised by your Rievno family first? Vanderlyn shook his head. It is impossible to just forget about the deaths and injuries of the vampires. The wizard killed 3 vampire deacons and also killed an aide. How dare the police department cover up a wizard so blatantly? Sheriff Claude sneered. I suggest that this matter be stopped here and let things cool down before we say anything else. Impossible. The death of the vampire must be repaid with the wizard's life. The appearance of a werewolf in Lehman Town is also a humiliation to the vampire. The werewolf must be captured. Sheriff Cloud said again, I suggest that it is better for you and for me to stop here, Vanderlyn. Vanderlyn is not afraid of this level 3 alchemist. The Rievno family faces many alchemists, and it is impossible for them to give up just because of a word from a level 3 alchemist. Sheriff Claude smiled and said, I'll give you a photo. Take a good look at it. Vanderlyn, others can shout for witch hunting, but you can't. Vanderlyn frowned, feeling that he had been humiliated. He really wanted to launch a century-old blood vendetta against the police chief and make him understand that he should never offend a vampire. Sheriff Claude took out a photo from the file bag and handed it to Pulley first. After seeing the photo, Pulley was stunned and handed it to Vanderlyn. Vanderlyn saw the photo and said nothing. The photo is of the vampire who had his blood sucked out and his arteries and veins removed. The body of this vampire is still lying in the basement of the police station. I don't know when that body appeared, but it's telling, isn't it? Even though the wizard was bloody and cruel, the way this vampire died was obviously not at the hands of a wizard. Old Grey suddenly notified Sam yesterday to collect the body. Old Grey said that someone put a body in the cemetery and asked Old Grey to help deliver it to the police station. The corpse was useful, giving the passive Sheriff Claude a chance to breathe. Rudolph acted relatively safely, and now he knew how to send evidence to the police station that would allow the police station to take the initiative. The vampire's face has always looked bad, but Vanderlyn's face is no longer pale, but livid. At that time, I was too embarrassed when facing the wizard. After using the blood replenishment technique to recover from the injury and obtain a new bloodline, I could only run for my life immediately and did not dare to stay for a long time. Now it seems that the wizard is not only cruel, but also cunning, and even knows how to hand over the evidence to the police station. Sheriff Crowder said. This matter ends here. The police department and the judicial office do not want to pursue a wizard who has escaped from Fabreau City at this time. We have informed the police departments in several surrounding cities about Rudolph and Yvonne. If you are willing, you can always pay attention to announcements from several other cities to see if wizards and werewolves have been captured. Pulley glanced at Vanderlyn, and then said to the police chief. Chief Claude, I also think it's better to stop here. I hope the police department can return the body of the vampire so that we can bury the family members. Of course, you can take away the body now. The police station has sorted out the pictures and written evidence. If you find anything new, please notify the police station at any time. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 149. After leaving the police station, Pulley and Vanderlyn discovered that there was mist in Lehman Town that night. The mist in the night made people and objects in the distance hazy, and Vanderlyn suddenly felt that his future had become blurry and cast a shadow. Sheriff Claude is a very powerful, level 3 alchemist. A level 3 alchemist who doesn't know why he insists on staying in this small town needs at least the high priest of the Red Church in Fabreau City to suppress him. However, if the high priest comes forward, won't the things Vanderlyn did not be punished? Vanderlyn spoke first, I'll go back and deal with the tail. What Vanderlyn said about dealing with the tail was to deal with Vanya. Vanderlyn is still alive, and Vanderlyn still wants to get information about the wizard from Vanya. Now it seems that this was a bad decision. Preserving yourself was more important than finding the wizard. Pulley expressed no objection to this. Since he wants to stand on Vanderlyn's side, he must do it thoroughly. It's just a Vanya, and he will die if he dies. As soon as possible, don't make things complicated. I will go back to find the blood servants first and ask them to take away and destroy the deacon's body in the hands of the police station. After doing this, you and I jointly explain to the family that the wizard and the mutated werewolf have escaped, and there is little chance of being hunted. They have escaped from the family's territory. In exchange for this, Sheriff Claude asked the sheriff not to pursue this matter further. Can we ask Claude to hand over the photos and records of that deacon's body? Pulley shook his head. Impossible, Sheriff Claude is not so easy to talk to, and even the easy-to-talk Claude can't be the sheriff for more than 10 years. Although Leemantown is just a small town, it is also difficult to be the sheriff here. But we don't need to worry too much. Sheriff Claude knew what was right and would not create any more complications after achieving his goal. He wanted this matter to end quietly as soon as possible. After hearing this, Fandolin also knew that there was no better way. Thank you, Mr. Pulley. You have been operating in Leemantown for a long time and are better at these things. I have been sleeping for too long and am not familiar with these things. Haha, Pulley laughed softly in his heart. He also wanted to be a sarcophagus vampire whose brain was damaged after sleeping for a long time. He also wanted to sleep in an ancient sarcophagus, but he was not qualified. The two walked to the church together, one went to find the blood servant, and the other went to the basement. After Vanderlyn entered the basement, he saw Vanya, who had been tortured for several days, and his bad mood improved slightly. There's something strangely pleasurable about torturing others if you're immune to moral condemnation and guilt. At this time, Vanya no longer had a human form. The castle bat circled tirelessly, holding one end of the bloody thread in its mouth. The other end of the bloodline was inserted from Vanya's throat, and the bloodline kept pulling, so that the blood stains around the wound never dried up, and new blood kept flowing out. The hole was getting bigger and bigger, and blood flowed out in streams, flowing down Vanya's neck and into his clothes. At this time, Vanya's clothes were blood red. If it weren't for the huge blood volume of the vampires, any apostle would have died from excessive blood loss. More importantly, bloodlines kept crawling between Vanya's internal organs, causing Vanya immense pain. The feeling of dislocation of internal organs, accompanied by a sudden tightening of an internal organ, is not something that ordinary people can bear. The pain in the internal organs is strange and difficult to identify the location. Pain in the back at this moment may be a problem with the liver, pain in the lower abdomen at the next moment may be a problem with the pancreas. When Vanderlyn saw Vanya, he remembered the night when he was defeated by the wizard, and how embarrassed he was. Thinking about his current situation again, he felt that no matter how much he tortured Vanya, he could not make up for his losses. The castle bat continued to be more active and pulled the bloodline, but Vanya had lost the ability to react. This made Vanderlyn feel uninterested. The castle bat flew towards Vanya, slowly circling around Vanya's throat. 10 seconds later, the bloodline around Vanya's throat had already circled several times. Vanya seemed to have a premonition that death was approaching. At this time, she opened her eyes and looked at Vanderlyn with expectation. Her voice was hoarse and slow. Mr. Vanderlyn, the Rievno family, are all blood clan, we can't do this. Vanderlyn felt disgusted as he listened to the words that didn't form sentences. Did this idiot want to awaken the family affection in his heart? What a stupid low-level vampire. Maybe there is indeed a family relationship between a vampire father and his son, but other than that, how can there be any affection between two vampires? The family love that the family promotes is just a promotion, it just wants the Rievno family to become a whole. The long life makes the vampires become indifferent and lonely. Anything repeated 1,000 times becomes boring. No matter how beautiful a woman is, after playing with her countless times, she will become disgusting and turn into a boring doll. The bloodline suddenly tightened, violently strangling Vanya's throat. At the same time, the tip of the bloodline in Vanya's chest was like a sharp steel needle, piercing Vanya's heart. After doing all this, the blood thread came out of Vanya's throat and returned to Vanderlyn's wrist. Vanya's neck was broken, so his cause of death was suicide. Vanderlyn reprimanded Vanya, and Vanya committed suicide in shame for colluding with the wizard. This was the truth of the matter. Give Vanya some time to commit suicide, and then let the blood servants come in the middle of the night to move this damned body, throw it into the wilderness, and let it disappear completely after it is dried into ashes. What Vanderlyn didn't know was that behind him, Vanya's eyes were staring at the high side window of the basement before he died. Outside the high side window, there was a small starry sky. This is the star field of Scorpio. The chest became heavy, and something filled the chest. It was his heart that broke, and it was his blood shaking in the chest. His cervical vertebrae were also strangled, which made his neck bend 90 degrees to one side. At this moment, Vanya, the blood clan is not his reliance, and Pulley will not make decisions for him. Death is his only ending. The starlight shines in Vanya's red pupils. Is there no other hope? What did the wizard say? If you encounter a desperate situation, then pray to Scorpio. In the few seconds before death, Vanya murmured to the starlight. Hatred, hatred for Vanya, hatred for Pri, hatred for the vampires, and of course hatred for the wizards. All this hatred supported him and allowed him to hold on for a few more seconds. In the last few seconds before his death, there was only starlight in his eyes, the starlight of Scorpio. Waves of special power, along with the starlight of Scorpio, entered Vanya's body and gave Vanya his last breath. At this time, at the edge of Lehman Town, Rudolph suddenly looked up and looked at Scorpio. Hatred, after all, drowned everything. Let's go, Ivan, let's go home. They are very busy tonight, and no one will care about us. Rudolph and Ivan, both wearing cloaks and hoods, walked through the night fog and walked into the familiar Lehman Town again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 150. Rudolph is very familiar with the patrol rules of the police station. The patrol routes and time points are set by him. Those lazy people will not change the patrol arrangements in a short time. At this time, no one will patrol the street where Rudolph and Ivan are. Rudolph asked in his cloak, "Are you familiar, Ivan?" Ivan stepped on the familiar stone slabs and looked at the familiar buildings. Familiar. I didn't feel it before, but now these streets are so familiar. Look more. Tonight, Lehman Town belongs to us, Rudolph said. Before nostalgia, I need to deal with a little bit of things first. Not long after, Rudolph appeared on the rooftop of a house. He looked up at the direction of Scorpio with concentration. Under Rudolph's feet, the great triangle of stars was drawn, but there were no relics in the great triangle. The starlight falling from Scorpio made the great triangle of stars also light up slightly. I don't know if there is anyone standing on the rooftop of the police station at this time, only the rooftop of the police station is higher than here. After being exposed, Rudolph felt much freer. At this time, in the basement of the Red Church, Vanya, who was about to die, also looked at Scorpio outside the high side window. His red pupils began to spread, making his vision gradually blurred. His eyelids drooped, and his vision was only a small slit. The blue starlight filled Vanya's eye slits, making his eyes flash blue. The starlight of Scorpio shone into the basement from the high side window, forming a beam of light. Tiny dust floated in the beam of light, and suddenly, something pushed away the dust. Vanya seemed to see a little starlight in the beam of light, and those starlights formed a translucent scorpion tail. The scorpion tail has a sharp tail needle, which is slightly curved, and the tip is shining with cold light. The joints behind the tail needle penetrate deep into the high side window and slowly pierce him. Vanya, whose consciousness is becoming more and more blurred, seems to have seen a savior. At this time, all accidents may change his bad situation. He begged unconsciously, "Let me live." A voice suddenly sounded in Vanya's ears, Death is liberation, and survival is full of suffering. Why do you hold on to these sufferings? Revenge, I want revenge, I am unwilling. I want revenge on Vanderlyn, I want revenge on Pulley, I want revenge on that wizard, I want revenge on the Ravno family, I want revenge on everything I can see. Revenge and life, you can only choose one. Vanya said without hesitation, revenge. I choose revenge. Even if you are half dead and half alive, and continue to live like a puppet, are you willing? I am willing to do anything. Even if death becomes a luxury, are you willing? I am willing to do anything. Hearing this answer from the bottom of Vanya's heart, Rudolph was relieved. The witch language of Scorpio hatred plays a role at this moment. Hate will eventually drown everything and destroy everything. The translucent scorpion tail composed of starlight slowly sank into Vanya's body. The scorpion's tail stirred in Vanya's body, as if looking for something. Soon, the scorpion's tail found its target. The scorpion's tail slowly retreated, and on the sharp tail hook, there was a ball of translucent mist. This ball of mist was Vanya's soul. The scorpion's tail quickly retracted and retreated from the window. In just a moment, it disappeared in the star field of Scorpio. On the rooftop in the distance, Rudolph closed his eyes. On his star map, a huge meteor flew towards the direction of Scorpio. All the bright stars of Scorpio shone, and 14 bright stars emitted bright light. He worked hard to light up the 14 bright stars of Scorpio. At this time, the bright stars were connected into a line, and outside the bright stars was a hazy Scorpio pattern. Soon, the scorpion's tail swept down, and a beam of light slowly fell from the scorpion's tail. At the end of the beam of light, the starlight condensed into a translucent cocoon of light. Inside the cocoon of light was Vanya's soul. The shadow gradually solidified and turned into Vanya's face, Vanya's head, and then Vanya's body. Rudolph's Scorpio puppet was completed. He poured star power into the light cocoon, the second-level wizard star power, and thoroughly cleansed Vanya's soul. Vanya's soul was elevated at this moment, just like a wizard can use the apostle power of other apostles with a magic weapon. In the Scorpio puppet, the second-level wizard star power was transformed into the power of the Blood Clan. At the same time, Vanya in the basement suddenly opened his eyes. Huge changes have taken place in his body. Vanya's back bulged, and slender bones grew from his shoulder blades, and the bones spread outward to more than 2 meters. Under the bones, fleshy webbed bat wings grew again, and blood vessels spread in the bat wings, filling every corner of the bat wings. This is the characteristic of the second-level Blood Clan, and this is an ability that only the second-level Blood Clan has. The forbidden technique of falling stars Scorpio puppet can cultivate puppet apostles of the same level as the Lord of Scorpio. In just a short time, Vanya completely became a level 2 vampire. Strictly speaking, the power of the vampires in Vanya's body was transformed from Rudolph's level 2 wizard star power. But Vanya was exactly the same as an ordinary vampire, with a certain degree of autonomy and the ability to replenish the power of the vampires on his own. Vanya slowly stood up from the ground. He felt that he had both the power of the vampires and the wizard star power in his body. Anyone can only become one kind of apostle, but now Vanya has achieved the compatibility of the 2 apostle powers under the forbidden technique of falling stars. After learning all this, Vanya bowed in the direction of Scorpio. "Thank you, Lord Scorpio." Lord of Scorpio, this title is a bit big, but at least now, Rudolph is the Lord of Vanya. A voice sounded in Vanya's heart, "This night belongs to you, and it is also your last night. Enjoy this night of revenge." After the salute, Vanya continued to lie in a pool of blood, pretending to be dead. On the rooftop, Rudolph smiled with satisfaction, smiling like a villain who had succeeded in his conspiracy. "Come on, Ivan, let's go look around and then go back to our home." It had been less than a week since he left, but Rudolph felt like he had been away from Lehman Town for a long time. They walked through the bathing place, and Rudolph stood at the far end of the bathing place for a while. He would never enjoy such a comfortable hot spring again. When Rudolph was there, Rudolph was guarding the hot spring bath. I wonder if the boss will miss him after Rudolph leaves? In fact, the boss is really thinking about him now. Rudolph still has 10 silver shields to recharge in his membership card. I was a bit harsh in persuading him to recharge at that time. Why can't he be happy now? The police station said that Rudolph fled to another place. Doesn't the money need to be refunded? If he doesn't retreat, Rudolph won't be angry, right? When a wizard is angry, it should be scary, right? Rudolph was angry, as it seemed. Isn't that the purpose of persuading people to apply for a card? Forget it, I won't refund it, it makes me seem like I can find Rudolph. Wealth can be found in danger. If you do this big job, you will save half a year of hard work. It's worth it? The two of them walked through the tavern, walked through the sacrificial square, and finally came to the police station. To Rudolph's surprise, the police station was working overtime. Several windows were illuminated, and Rudolph even saw that the window of Babe's office was lit up. Could it be that old Baby has also been caught by the sheriff and is working overtime? Standing far away from the police station, I looked at the police station from a distance and felt a little sad. It was time to say goodbye to the police station. I was so hasty that I didn't get to see them seriously for the last time. Just as they turned around to leave, a man walked out of the side alley. Rudolph had long known that someone was coming from that way and did not avoid it. Coming out of the alley was Sheriff Claude. The sergeant looked at his former right-hand subordinate, wearing a cloak that hid his appearance, and couldn't help but sigh. Rudolph, long time no see. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 151. Long time no see, Sheriff. Rudolph couldn't help but raise his hand and pinch his eyebrows. The level 2 danger intuition didn't give him any hint. Sheriff Claude in front of him didn't have any ill intentions towards him. The sheriff didn't even have a gun. Rudolph, there is no need to exchange pleasantries between us. Let me tell you one thing first. Whether it is the police station or the trial court, I must give Claude a face. Therefore, the trial office will not organize a hunt for you for the time being. Operation Witch. Hearing this result, Rudolph was very surprised, but, what's the reason? I mean, besides your face, is there any other reason? Sheriff Claude motioned for Rudolph to come closer, just like what you said in the letter, you will not harm Lehmantown. I believe in you and I believe in Yvonne. After Rudolph and Yvonne looked at each other, they both saw the joy in each other's eyes. Chief, it feels good to be trusted. Yvonne and I will never do anything to harm Lehmantown. It sounds funny to pin the safety of Lemontown on the conscience of wizards and werewolves, but I still have this conscience. Like the sheriff said, I'm from Lamont and I love it here so much. Sheriff Claude nodded, that's good. Rudolph asked again, besides this beautiful trust, what is the real reason? Sheriff Claude raised his voice and expressed his dissatisfaction, can't there be only sincere feelings between us? Chief, we have received your feelings, but we also want to know some things besides feelings. Rudolph understood that no matter how good his relationship with the sheriff was, the most the sheriff could do was notify him in advance of the witch hunt and run away. There must be other factors involved. You are still smart, Rudolph. The police chief motioned for Rudolph to follow him into the alley. Entering the alley, when there was no one around, the police chief continued, now, the relationship between the Rievno family and the Alchemy Council is very delicate. The Alchemy Council has no objection to what the Rievno family wants to do, but it is not very serious either. Agree? What do the Rievno family want to do? If you look into the reasons, this is a story that goes back a long time. In history, the 12 families of the Knights of the Round Table divided and reunited and established many kingdoms. After that, the alchemists became increasingly powerful, and each kingdom entered the era of constitutional government. Currently, there are 5 constitutional kingdoms, 2 republics, and 1 empire on the continent of Elian. The only one that did not implement constitutionalism was the Mogwen Empire. They were still a pure empire of knights. No matter what era it is, the God-chosen side has never been able to control all the land on the continent. Even now, nearly 1/3 of the land is still outside the control of these 8 countries. The area where Fabro City is located was formerly the territory of the Rievno family. Because iron ore was discovered here, the Alchemy Council of Vichy County decided to establish the city of Fabro here. The city of Fabro was founded, occupying the territory of the Rievno family. After many rounds of friendly or unfriendly negotiations, the Rievno family was willing to lease the land and iron ore to the Alchemy Parliament, and the Alchemical Parliament also allowed the Rievno family to continue living on this land. Just because of the existence of the tribunal, members of the Rievno family must hide their identities and cannot expose their heretical identities to ordinary people. As a result of the compromise, the Alchemy Council allowed the Rievno family to form the Red Church. Over these more than 100 years, the Rievno family has experienced the benefits of the Red Church. They no longer need to attack humans passing through their territory, and they no longer need to fight the surrounding kingdom troops. They can easily collect enough blood. Blood is not only the food of the vampires, but also the filling in the coffins of the vampires when they sleep in ancient coffins. After more than 100 years of mining, the iron ore in Fabro City is gradually approaching its full potential, and it is estimated that there will be less than a dozen years of mining left. Fabro City will slowly decline, which is the fate of all resource-based cities. The iron ore in our town of Lemang was exhausted 20 years ago, so our town of Lemang is almost the smallest town around. Fabro City is still too remote. Rudolph, you have never left Lehman Town, but when you hear the full name of Lehman Town, you will know how remote Lehman Town is. Carolingian Kingdom, Burgundy Region, Aube Province, Vichy County, Fabro City, Lehman Town. This place is already on the edge of control by the chosen party. If it weren't for the iron mines, the county council would not invest too many resources here. This is a fruitless thing. The Rievno family has discovered an opportunity. They are active and want the Alchemy Council to give up Fabro City and then let them take over Fabro City. Even an ordinary city with no resources is enough to make the Rievno family live a better life. They promised to manage Fabro City well and make Fabro City always as prosperous as it is now. This incident went beyond the expectations of the Alchemy Council, and the Alchemy Council is now in a dilemma. Some people in the council are firmly opposed to the Blood Clan's infiltration into Fabro City. For example, those of us who grew up in Fabro City are very resistant to this matter. As I said just now, Fabro City and Lehman Town are your home and my home, and I don't want this to become a paradise for vampires in the future. Therefore, the relationship between the two parties is now very delicate. Rudolph figured out the key to the matter: the vampires attacked me, and I also attacked the vampires, so the council won't take me seriously for the time being. Are you ready to wait? Not all of the Alchemy Council, but the people in the Alchemy Council who were born and raised in Fabro City. We suppressed this matter. We have a loose organization called the Relief Society. Rudolph couldn't help asking, is the Relief Society so powerful? Can it interrupt the witch-hunting process of the Inquisition? Yes, if you have the opportunity to join the Relief Society, you will know that the Relief Society is trustworthy. In the fight against the Ravno family, we have a common language and can have a certain degree of cooperation. Rudolph, you are already on the revenge list of the Ravno family. This is what makes the Blood Clan disgusting. They always use vicious revenge to protect themselves. Blood feud is their way of protecting themselves so that no one offends them. Rudolph is very interested in this Relief Society. How can I join the Relief Society? Police, the chief said. How should I put it? The situation has been told to you. You can do whatever you want with the rest. You need to make some achievements so that I can convince other people in the Relief Association. However, you must pay attention to the scale and don't give the tribunal an excuse to hunt witches. To put it bluntly, you can do whatever you want to the vampires now, but you must not attack anyone else. Rudolph nodded. He understood that this was treating him as a black glove. I like to do whatever I want, Sheriff. I am good at this. The sheriff came over and patted Rudolph on the shoulder. Personally, I hope you pay attention to safety, Rudolph. Thank you very much, Sheriff Claude. The two are about to part in this night fog. From now on, they can no longer have a relaxed conversation in the sheriff's office. After Rudolph turned around, Sheriff Claude's voice sounded again. Rudolph, I hope you can restrain yourself. You are a little dangerous now. Not only to others, but also to yourself. You have no restraint, no bottom line, but you have powerful abilities. If you don't know how to restrain yourself, you will keep accelerating on the road of danger. No matter how powerful a wizard you are, you must be cautious and low-key. There will always be someone who can defeat you. Rudolph, I am your guarantor in the Relief Society, and every innocent soul you kill will be recorded in my name. Rudolph was silent for a long time before he said, I understand, Sheriff, I won't make it difficult for you.